We will call the meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Dr. Bias, will you lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely. Please stand. Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
So agenda item number 3, the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
There's no mics, guys.
So moved. Oh, it's just a habit then.
That's why you pushed me.
You know, yell out to the throng.
You look good. For the record, we are recording.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the agenda from Trustee Evans. Second from Trustee Scher. All those in favor of adopting the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Public comments to address the Board of Trustees. Do we have any public comment cards this afternoon?
No.
We do not. Okay. Then we'll move to agenda item 5. Before we get there, I would, since this is being recorded, I did want to announce that this was a special board meeting that was called to address the issues related to the fires in our area. Dr. Davis had a scheduling conflict and could not make it today, so that's why he's not here. Okay.
All right.
Dr. Davis.
I keep wanting to bring my mic. I have it.
Do it.
I know. So the purpose of the meeting today is to really go over what the criteria for closing schools is, what's happening today, recently with the fires, how we make those decisions, how we ensure the safety of our students first and foremost in this community, and how we proceed about closing schools when we need to close schools. So as all of you know, Thursday fire broke out, the Hill and the Woolsey fire broke out in Thousand Oaks area, and also Camarillo Hills, Camarillo Springs broke out on Thursday afternoon. Literally, I hadn't even gotten off the plane in San Diego when I got the call that, guess what, we're on fire. So typically what we learned, since this is our second go-round, what we have learned is that we are greatly affected, if not by the fire itself, directly by the winds. Being close to the coast, we get huge, heavy winds all the time. And what we also have learned is while in the morning, at 8 o'clock in the morning, we will be clear, and everybody's like, why did you close the school? By noon, 1 o'clock, it looks like this. So if everybody will take a look, and I think we have copies back there, if everybody will take a look at this. This was Friday at noon. Friday morning at 8. These are Oxnard Plain schools. Friday morning at 8 o'clock, clear as a bell. Like you would not know. This is at noon. So the way it went on Friday, what happened too was on Thursday, we had the JPA recommending, because of the poor air quality, to recommending that we close our schools. We closed our schools Friday morning. Clear as a bell in the morning. By afternoon, we were happy that we closed because it was thick, dark smoke throughout our district. Over the weekend, the JPA doing its due diligence, because there are risk managers and they pay for all of the cleanup. The JPA walked with Josh, our Camarillo schools, and then 2 of our Oxnard Plain schools, and found during the weekend that it was relatively good air quality in our schools at that point. This was on Sunday, so yesterday. The only school that was really affected, it was the gymnasium of Adolfo Camarillo at that point. And because the windows, a couple of the windows in the top of the gym are rusted open, the pollutants, Josh says they're going to have to dismantle all the windows completely to get them out because the little mechanism to open is rusted. But anyway, so the crud, the ash, and the smoke came into the gym, and that was really the only area that they found because they use their little machine that measures the air quality. So this was yesterday. We thought we're good. As of this morning, beautiful outside. We're checking air quality index every few minutes. An hour ago, the Newberry Springs got because of the winds increasing, 2 new fires have broken out in Newberry Springs, right about 2 to 3 miles from Adolfo Camarillo High School. blew a ton of smoke into Camarillo. We're at 440. So that brings us to this next piece that I wanted to review with the board, and I think this is really important for our community to understand. And I gave this to you, but I didn't realize that the copies were going to come out so light. So if you want to write these down so you can fill them in, so you know what they are. So as you can see, and I'm just saying this so that it's recorded, as you can see 0 to 50 is good air quality. That's usually green when you see a map. 51 to 100 is moderate, yellow on the map. These are the ones you can't see well. Unsafe for special groups is 101 to 150, and that is typically orange on an air quality map.
So 101 to 150 is considered
Unhealthy for special groups. So those would be people who have any kind of breathing, lung conditions. Also fragile, medically fragile kids would have great difficulty in this kind of a situation. Okay, 151 to 200 is unhealthy. It'll be bright red on any of the air quality maps that you see. Okay, 201 to 300 is considered very unhealthy. That would be purple on a map. Hazardous. This is where you got to have masks 100% if you're in this. 301 to 500, and that will be burgundy on an AQI map. So as of an hour ago, Camarillo is at 440 due to the new fires, and Oxnard, Wainimi is at 157. So Oxnard, Wainimi is in the red unhealthy area. Camarillo is in the hazardous area. As we know, I would expect Oxnard, Wainimi to not only visually look worse, but be higher up into unhealthy by later this afternoon, because you know that it rolls in. This was completely unexpected. As of yesterday, the JPA said, you're cleared, you're good to go, you guys look good. Now we have new fires. Okay, another issue. So that's how we make the decision, is when it gets up into, for us, when we're starting to push 150, because we have so many fragile students on our campuses. We have tons and tons of kids and staff with asthma and also severely handicapped fragile kids. When we start pushing up into the 140s and 150s in the orange area would be where I would start to worry about the health of our kids. And definitely if you get into red, that's it. Last time we did this, we were calling when we were in the orange. If it was yellow or green, we were not calling it. As you know, that changes. As we found out, it changed. It went from 30, we were 30 this morning, to 157. So it's like, within an hour. So that's one piece. But another thing that we had to consider, and I worked this weekend with the principals on, was staffing. Because we had a number, and Trustee Scher was one of them, a number of staff who were displaced and evacuated from their homes. The village at Cal State Channel Islands, where many of our staff live, was evacuated. We have many staff who live in Thousand Oaks, and we had road closures. So what I did is I asked the principals to give me an idea of how many people were affected because of evacuation, so we would just know. Because even if the winds shift and it's healthy all of a sudden, if our staff are all evacuated and can't come back to their homes, and we don't have enough teachers or subs to cover, that's another problem. And I knew that could be a problem in this instance. So what we found out was most sites would be okay. The highest number of teachers was PHS, which had 25 that were impacted. And I asked, it was either evacuated or on the other side of the road closures. Okay, 25. Adolfo Camarillo was hanging out in the double digits. He said it was varying because people were coming back home, so it was hard to get a number. But the rest ranged from 0 to 6 staff members. We can deal with that. Really, the only two that I was of great concern would be Pacifica at that high number and Adolfo Camarillo. Now, another thing we consider is this, and we did this last time, is that if we had a certain number of staff that could not come to school, we look at, okay, what would our sub pool be? We knew that the last time that because Ventura was closed a lot longer, we could use their subs. Subs need to work, right? A lot of them. So if a school district next to us is closed, we get their subs. So we were comfortable coming back last time, even if Ventura was still closed, because we knew. This time, technically, if we were to open, even with this number of teachers still impacted, we could probably get subs from other areas because they're unable to work, like up the hill, they're unable to work up the hill, so we could get those subs. So we do take all of those things into consideration about whether or not we could open. And as of this morning, I felt comfortable we could get enough subs if it was clear to open. As of now, I don't think that that would be wise at this point. The JPA sent out something saying that if you guys get into unhealthy or over, we recommend that you close. Number one, because there are risk managers, and obviously they're very concerned about what would happen if people got hurt. The safety of people obviously is our first priority. Secondly, you know, the cleanup thing, we have to consider that, like how much is it going to be? So they advise us all the time because they're the ones out there checking. For me, safety is always paramount. I believe we will have more evacuations today. We'll be finding out because now that there's 2 more fires in Newberry Parks, which is close to Camarillo, we have teachers who live there. We're going to get more and more people evacuated. It's also unsafe. It would be my recommendation that we not open tomorrow and we take it day by day based on the air quality index, the cleanliness of our schools, and our ability to staff our schools. Those are the 3 criteria that you have to look at. Yes?
Trustee Rohr?
So the question about cleanliness of the schools. So right now, besides air quality, how are we measuring the cleanliness of each school?
So we have, the JPA comes out and walks our schools with us.
I know, but do they do like the white glove test? I mean, how do they do the cleanliness? Is it air quality only? What do they do?
Yeah, Josh.
We actually did do a visual inspection at each one of the school sites that we visited yesterday. So they actually take a swab, they take a sticky tape, and actually take a sample of the residual debris that's sitting on windowsills or flat areas around door openings. And then the visual inspection for the ash, so there's ash, soot, and then there's some additional fines, charred matter, if you will. That's what they're looking for specifically, and accumulation that's usually driven by the wind into piles, so we look for that as well. We did the exterior inspections, and then we actually went inside of classrooms as well. And then the sampling itself is actually done with a device that will draw the air in for about a 5-minute cycle. They'll take that vial sample back to the laboratory for analysis. So we'll get those results in within a few days after they come back.
So that's
to us.
not immediate?
It's not
If
immediate
a
because it
school
requires
is
a lab
clean or not?
analysis. Correct.
So the only thing that we really would base it on would be on air quality then? Because if we're going to do
Well,
cleanliness, that would be 3 or 4 days later.
So in addition to going to the spaces, it passes a smell test literally. So we go into a space, if the smell of smoke is present like it was in the Camarillo gym, for example, then we know we've got an issue. So that's where we recommend a formal
Air
professional
scrubbing.
level cleanup, where we do air scrubbers, actually wipe down hard surfaces and clean the area. So, and run for an extended duration of time to make sure the air was clean.
So right now from the schools that they did the cleanliness test, where are we with that? How many schools got tested?
So just based on yesterday's site visit, we went from Camarillo to Rancho Campana, Channel Islands, and finished at Wainimi. So those were the 4 focus areas. Camarillo, because it was hardest hit by the smell of smoke and the odor, starting on Thursday afternoon. And then as far as the weather pattern and the wind drawing it towards Wainimi and Channel Islands, which you see in the photographs that were taken, we were concerned about the ash actually falling onto those campuses in particular.
Which was yesterday. Today it's blowing
yesterday.
towards Rio Mesa.
Correct.
So that's.
So we have a weather pattern similar today to what we saw on Thursday, where it's actually staying a little bit more inland, and because of the proximity of the fire crossing the hills, it's actually coming into the valley more versus approaching the coastline.
So do you think the next batch will be in Rio Mesa, Pacifica?
It has the
Oxnard
potential to
School?
come more inland into the city.
I mean, but you
Oxnard
will
proper.
test those schools for cleanliness as well?
Yes, that would be the recommendation, I believe, of the JPA at this point, being that we know we have more coverage now than what we were looking at yesterday.
So at some point, oh, sorry.
They'll do all of them.
That's, yeah, I just wanted clarification. Like at some point, they'll do each of the schools just to make sure.
Yeah, I know our microphones
Yeah, so-
Microphones are, they're turned off, sorry you guys. Yeah.
Okay, so the last time that this happened, they did go and do a check at all of our schools because that's how they approved to put the money into the air scrubbers and the restoration companies. And so this was a first check to determine the extent of it. And we were happy to see that it was basically the Adolfo Camarillo gym at this point, but now it's just taking over. And so what they'll do is they'll walk with Josh at all of the schools and they'll say, this is how many air scrubbers we're gonna approve for here, this is how many for there. They'll fund us hiring our folks overtime to clean the schools. We'll be on extra duty time for all of our custodians. If we need to, they have companies like ServPro that we can get extra help from that'll help us as well. So that's kind of how we did it last time. It was a full court press. They just sent us who we needed.
Question?
Yeah.
Do you want to follow up on yours?
Yeah,
go
follow
ahead.
up. So Superintendent De Leon, the issue of the air quality, I know that, there's like the 8 a.m. version, and then again around 1 p.m. or 12 o'clock it changes. So if we were to approve, or, the number of schools, or how many schools, or all schools, whatever that might be, at what point are we going to do the check-ins to see where are we with the air quality? At 3 points of the day, what does the JPA say? Do it 8 o'clock, do it 12 o'clock, do it 3 o'clock, or what?
That's what they've been doing. I think the county and the JPA in particular learned a lot of lessons from Thomas Fire. Like, don't leave it up to everybody to pull their own air quality. Send out a thing, globally to everybody, and they did it. They've already done 2 today. That's how we got these most recent numbers, and they're just doing it all the time. For us, logistically, we like to call whether we're going to close or not no later than 8. We try to do it by 6.
No later than 8 p.m. or 6
We do it. We try to do it by 6, but occasionally something will change, and then we like
p.m. or
8 p.m. p.m. What I would do, having been through this now, is the way that we would state it if we closed schools. Like, let's say we close schools for tomorrow, we would put something out. I would like to have that out by 6. Now, let me tell you why I'm saying 6 for us, 8 at the latest. Because all the superintendents have to call their board presidents because they don't all do special meetings like we're doing now. And then they got to get approval, because I'm going to tell you that if Oxnard L goes out, we go out.
Thank you.
I mean, that's the way it is, because our parents will say, how come it's unhealthy for the little kids is not unhealthy, right? And that makes sense, right? So we all then have to check in with each other. That's part of it, because it's like kind of we all do it at the same time. And then they get back, and then we all sort of have like a last check-in. So sometimes what I've seen is that has happened a little later than 6. So for us, we always tell each other, drop dead is you can't let families know later than 8 p.m. Like, we try to do it by 6. And so hold on one second. This time what I would do that we learned from last time that we would do differently would be we would put it out and say, keep checking your parent square and your email, check again at 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever, because things change. Particularly like if we were going to be open and things change, we would want people to keep checking. So whatever the case may be, we're going to tell people to keep checking back so that if we were going to change our decision either way, people would know by 6 a.m. would be their final check-in in the morning. Because that is also our final ability to cancel buses, to cancel. We have a whole bunch of special ed buses from Ventura County that come all the way inland to come. That's like our final ability to make changes is at 6 a.m. So if we were to change one way or the other, that would be the last check. And so this time I'm going to make sure we tell the parents in our evening decision to check back for changes. Does that make sense? We didn't do that last time, and so people were a little confused those first few days. So that's an important piece.
I just,
Yeah, questions?
just one point of clarification, the number that you gave earlier for Camarillo is 457,
440
440.
and 157 for Oxnard Guanini.
Thank you.
Had a comment, trustee? So I heard the two criteria predominantly right now is air quality and the ability to staff the schools, right?
That's
And the cleanliness test as well.
the cleanliness, and it's not, so let me, can I clarify that cleanliness?
No, I'm not,
Oh,
I'm going
okay.
to talk about the other ones right
Okay.
now. So what is the recommendation from the county as far as schools closing on this AQI index? Did I hear you say if it's 150 or higher in the unhealthy range, that's when schools
They have
close?
told us that any unhealthy, whether it's special groups or not, so once we get into the 100s, they start to feel like we're gonna have problems with special ed kids, kids with asthma and all those pieces. Last time we were usually calling it when we get to be like 120-ish, 130-ish in there.
Okay, so-
Yeah.
My request or idea, or whatever you want to call it, is that for this, whatever criteria we're using to close the schools or open them to make that determination, that we publicize that, make it very open. Because last time, people, they didn't understand why something was being closed and why it wasn't. It just seemed completely arbitrary. Because you look outside and it's fine, you walk out your door and it's fine, but you go 5 blocks over and it's completely smoky. But unless you go those 5 blocks over, you're like,
You
why
don't
did my
know,
smoke
yeah.
so that, like, even this document that you're passing out to us, if we could post that on our website saying, this is what we're using as our criteria for closing the schools. We're getting a recommendation from Ventura County Office of Education regarding this. I think that'd be very helpful for our parents and community to understand the thought process behind what we're doing.
I would agree. Can I clarify on the cleanliness piece? I think we need to talk a little bit more about that. So the cleanliness factor, and this is what we experienced last time, it's not just about them testing our schools and saying whether the air is clean or not. It's not just about them saying, we're gonna give you 200 air scrubbers. It's about the time it takes then to clean the schools afterwards. And so that's another piece, because a lot of people didn't understand that even if it looked clean outside, if we're not able to, we haven't had time to go in and scrub our schools, that can take a couple days. And so that's another thing that we take into consideration. It doesn't happen overnight, and especially if it's every school in this district that has to be clean. This is the second biggest district in this county. It's a lot of man hours and hard work. It doesn't happen overnight, does it, Josh?
No, it doesn't.
And just the air scrubbers alone, last time took 2 days to get the air quality level that we wanted. It took placing the scrubbers for 2 days last time. So it's not like they come in and then we can just suddenly, it's not done that fast.
Trustee Herrera?
I'm going to support the recommendations of the superintendent with those 3 factors, but I think we just, like Trustee Hall said, post it. What criteria are we using and what does that mean in each of those factors? Because I know that those are, some parents live here but work in another county. Closing a school down really throws in a huge wrench in their plans. And so understanding that we're coming from that perspective of keeping everybody healthy is going to be really important. But my other question about this is, how do we make up the instructional time?
So last time, we didn't have to make up instructional minutes at all, because once you're declared a state of emergency, they reimburse us for all of that, okay? So they basically give you an exception. It's the same as if we had any kind of disaster, anything that would happen where you have to close your school for a day. They did not make us make that up last year, and we got letters. We sent in our resolution, we sent in all the final information, and then actually just recently, maybe like a month ago, we got letters from the state saying, we've approved we knew it anyway, because once they call an emergency or a disaster, that's it. They reimburse us for everybody's time. That's another thing that we're going to make sure the staff knows, and we let them know last time. But we still had staff saying, well, are we gonna use our sick leave? I'm evacuated, what do we do? No, we get reimbursed when schools are closed, that's it, we get reimbursed. So, now, mind you, there is always concern about content. And depending on the length of the closures, how do we make up content? Last year, the main concern came from AP and IB teachers, and what I did is I reimbursed them. Not reimburse them. I gave them money to hold after school and Saturday workshops in the number of hours that they missed per class. So if we were closed for 8 days, that was 8 sessions of AP US History first period or whatever, I gave them 8 hours to make up. So they came after school, they came on Saturdays and they were very, very thankful for that. Yeah. So that is how we dealt with that, because there are certain, obviously those classes they test and it's a national test and they don't really change their national testing schedule because we have a disaster. So we have to make up the time somehow, and that's how we did it. So we understand that we will be offering that same ability to our AP teachers as anybody else.
So I move to approve the resolution, Trustee Hall.
Okay, I had more discussion, I wanted to do that, can you hold off?
Sure.
on this resolution? Okay, so I just want to follow back up on you. So are we going to be posting what our criteria is for closure of the school?
Yes.
Okay, so here's a question. So let's say we're going to close the school if it's unhealthy, 151 or higher, which I think I heard you said if it's 151 or higher, the Ventura County Office of Education recommends
No,
that we
they,
close
they,
school.
they actually say if it's in the 100s pushing 150 because of all the special fragile kids
Okay.
that we have we have a ton of kids with asthma too. So if you'll notice, unsafe for special groups,
Yeah.
those are our medically fragile kids or asthmatic kids. So once we are in that range, I start to hit mid-range, that becomes a worry for me.
So what happens, and it's a worry for all of us, of
Yeah,
course. What happens if they do a test at Camarillo or Rio Mesa or Pacifica and they're at 125 and Wanemi's at 12 in the good category? So what if, two schools are just completely clean air, which is possible, and I believe happened last year, and then two are not? What do we do? Do we close it? Is the Ventura County Office of Education recommendation to close the entire district, or is it just to close those schools that have the unhealthy air?
Well, the problem last year was that the unhealthy air situation would change by afternoon for the Plain schools. And so even when it was healthy in the morning, by afternoon we were really getting hit pretty badly. So my recommendation would be that if we are unhealthy at Camarillo schools, by afternoon it's going to be here and we might as well close the district. Also, don't forget that we have staff that are impacted, and so it becomes a real issue for us. It would have to be like, it would be hard because the winds, as long as the winds and the fires are blazing, we're going to get it here in the afternoon. It happened every single day, I would say.
I would recommend then putting that information out on the website, because I know that was a question I got last year.
Why are you closed? Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
put that out there saying, if it's unhealthy at one of our schools, we close all of them because of that reason, because throughout the day, we assume it's gonna impact the other schools as well. Okay,
Okay.
all right, wait, no, I got another question.
Oh, yeah.
So, can we also put out on the website the timing of the decisions? Because about saying our goal is to get the information out by 6 p.m., the things you were mentioning, because I just like to have one source of information. I liked where you posted our emergency meeting or special board meeting just right up front on the website. OxnardUnion.org, it's just right there, that's the first thing you see, so people don't need to go look for it.
And then I'm going to say any changes will be made by 6 a.m. So keep
Yeah, so
checking.
last check is in the morning, that kind of
Check at
thing.
6 a.m.
So-
Or decision make, like the 6 a.m. is the final.
All right. Can we, if we approve the motion, I had some other questions, just about do we have any damage estimates and the cost for replacement? Do we have any estimates right now?
Not this time, sir.
No? Okay, and then I got a call from a parent, and I talked to a student at Rancho Campana High School. They told me, they just told me this, that finals were scheduled to start on Tuesday, tomorrow, and that Friday was canceled. So they didn't know, I think people were assuming, as we all were on Saturday and Sunday, that school would reopen on Tuesday. So they didn't know if finals were gonna continue on, but is
They'll
that,
move finals.
okay, so I think that needs to go out to the Rancho Campana students and.
I'll make sure Mr.
Or
Martin.
anybody.
Or anybody.
Oh, well, I guess it's only Rancho.
They're on
Who else is-
trimester.
who
They're on
else is on
trimester.
trimester?
Just Frontier.
Just Frontier then? But I mean, I think because if we end up being closed for a couple days, then that's gonna go push past Thanksgiving, right? Because we're closed the next week.
They'll have an extra week to study.
So, yeah. So, okay, so can that go out in information to the schools that are on the trimester? So that, because they were wondering what was going to happen.
Although I can tell you that Frontier does their finals at all different times with their kids.
Okay.
Because they're more of a fluid situation.
All right.
Before we move any further, I just want to take a minute, if that's okay, to say thank you to Dr. De Leon and everybody that's been pushed into action once again. So I know we learned a lot last time, but thank you for your leadership and your protection of our students and our community. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So do you need anything else from us to help you in the next couple weeks? Besides this motion here, besides this resolution?
Besides resolution, no, sir, because then the resolution gives us the ability to act on the business services side to put emergency services into play without having to go out to bid and to deal with the red tape as emergency services only.
Okay.
And so that's what the resolution is designed for, to give Dr. De Leon the ability just to say, okay, do this, do that, do this, and we can react immediately.
Okay. And I thought I heard you say earlier that any emergencies we make due to the fire will be reimbursed by either a state or federal agency.
Well, it's reimbursed directly to us immediately by the JPA.
Okay.
And then whatever monies we get from the state or the federal government is then netted against whatever the JPA. So literally we send them the check that we get, and then they net it, and then they give us back. If the federal government and the state pays us more than what the JPA gave us up front, we get money. If it pays less, then they keep all of the money from the state and the federal, and then the insurance itself reimburses as the JPA.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So do you have a copy of the other resolution, not this one? The one where did it go?
Which one are you talking about? The one
The
that's on the
the
agenda?
revised one.
Yes, I believe so. The revised one, the one for signature or the one?
Yeah, that has your signature, for signature.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, great. I was looking for it, I'm like, where'd it go?
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
thank you all.
We have to vote.
First, I second.
God bless.
We have to vote.
First and second.
First and
vote.
second.
Oh, okay. All right. Why not roll call? Yep,
Your roll
sure.
call.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Evans?
Aye.
Trustee Hall?
Aye.
Trustee Sher?
Aye.
Trustee Harrell?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Well, after that, any comments? Meeting adjourned.